Siona God, hello all. Oshta, afternoon, good afternoon, and Wado, thank you for watching. So this is going to be a part 2 because I was so into what I was reading, like I went over 15 minutes. So anyways, I said all the while they have no knowledge of their double life they have been leading, and it makes sense as to why people, when they commit those crimes, they're like, I have no idea, like what, the last thing I remembered was this. Like, it made me wonder if that dude Sirhan, if he was like that, or if he had just had the suggestive stuff that they kept like kind of, and they put him in a hypnotic state and put him in there, because I believe he's dead now, I don't know, but up until like whenever they would interview him, he would never change his story, and I guess would never like deny his innocence or whatever, or implicate himself in anything and stuff. And then there was that lady who was a witness, because there was this really pretty looking lady that Sirhan remembered, and I guess she went by him, whispered something, triggered him, and anyway, she goes out of a side door. There is a woman that's standing there and identified her to police, like, y'all need to be looking for this lady looking like this in this dress and whatever it was. I heard her say it's done, or I did it, or whatever it was. And then they forced her to change her story anyway, or they threatened her that her life would be virtually unlivable. But anyway, she came out and they did a documentary. RFK Jr. did it, and I can't remember the name of the documentary off the top of my head, but I saw it on the Angel Network. Definitely worth your time. And he talks about how he wants to look into his dad's death, because he believes that Sirhan was not the one, and he believes that it was the guy that was behind him, that was a newly placed like security guard or something. He said he had been I don't know, he had been on the job for like 3 months. He had no other prior security service, but he did have a link to the CIA. He did work for the CIA before. And when his father gets shot, he spins around and grabs the tie of the security guy. And when he falls, because it was a clip-on tie, he has the guy's tie in his hands. He said that his dad grabbed the guy and pulled him to him, because he was going to give him, I guess, what for? Because he knew that he had hurt him, right, in some way. But he was mortally wounded, so there was no way he could have given him what for on the way down. But anyhow, so this is mind control programming. The core component of mind control lies solely on one's ability to disassociate. This is made possible through trauma-based programming, hypnosis, drugs, and advanced computer and/or biobot technology. Before diving too deeply into the subject, let's first take a closer look at dissociative identity disorder. MPD/DID. DID, dissociative identity disorder, previously known as MPD, multiple personality disorder, is a symptom of severe emotional trauma occurring usually at a young age. When abuse becomes intolerable, a person's mind will isolate certain personality traits into compartments in order to protect the psyche from trauma and ensure their own survival. Generally speaking, the higher the IQ and the more psychic and creative a person is, the more likely they are to develop MPD/DID due to trauma. Psychics are more likely to dissociate because it comes naturally to them when they access their abilities. MPD/DID has been known to occur in at least 1% of the population. Most of these cases are due to severe child abuse, satanic rituals, or cults. Therapists working in this field have organized their practice to assist such victims. Unfortunately, very little help is available to those who develop MPD/DID as a result of covert brainwashing programs. It's especially hard for these victims to break free from their programming, because their handlers are quick to remedy the situation. Sadly, those that do seek help are often labeled schizophrenic or medicated inappropriately. One way to know the difference between MPD/DID and schizophrenia is through the use of hypnosis. According to Dr. Edward Simpson-Kallas, Kallas, a psychiatrist with wide experience in the area of forensic hypnosis, most people with MPD/DID are easily hypnotized, while paranoid schizophrenics are extremely difficult to put under. Symptoms of schizophrenia from the DSM-IV. So it says, they have it labeled, he has it labeled as ABC. So A, characteristic symptoms. 2 or more of the following each present for a significant portion of time during a 1-month period: delusions, hallucinations, disorganized speech, grossly disorganized or catonic behavior, negative symptoms. B, social/occupational dysfunction for a significant portion of the time since the onset of the disturbance. One or more major areas of functioning, such as work, interpersonal relations, or self-care, are markedly below the level achieved prior to the onset. C. Duration. Continuous signs of the disturbance persist for at least 6 months. Symptoms of MPD/DID. MPD/DID is the persistent presence of 2 or more distinct identities, each with its own unique way of relating to the world and the self. At least 2 of these identities recurrently take control of the person's behavior. An inability to recall important personal information to an extent that is more than ordinary forgetfulness. Possible signs include the use of we or us instead of I, hearing voices, depression, comorbidity, and in parentheses, multiple diagnoses, sense of being separate from one's own thoughts, memories, or actions, amnesia, time loss, flashbacks, cutting, suicide attempts, headaches, violent actions against others, preoccupation with black clothing. Clues to covert mind control programming. The person changes tastes or behavior and is self-contradictory in what they say they like. The person believes that aliens are talking inside their heads. The person is not able to comfortably watch certain films of a non-horror nature like Alice in Wonderland or The Wizard of Oz. This is especially true with older monarch victims. Victims will have scars of various kinds on their bodies, including needle marks, laser cuts, multiple electric prod scars, or mysterious rashes on their bodies. When the victims get memory most, if not all victims have participated in weird sex and pornography. Monarch victims suffer all types of problems, including confusion, fears, panic attacks, headaches, program-induced medical problems, such as autoimmune disorders, hurting feet, shakes, trembles, PTSD symptoms such as nightmares, sexual dysfunction, OCD, strange obsessions, rage, depression, dizziness, seeing black and white spots, etc., etc. I wish he would have went on. Men who are active in the programming will often have multiple marriages and marry a woman of striking appearance who is much younger, but with little show of emotional attachment. Family background connected to high-level masonry, high-ranking military personnel and royalty, preoccupation with mind control research, or having sensations of being a human robot, feeling as if their life is a dream which is being watched by the government. Implants may feel squealing or buzzing in the ear, memories of abduction scenarios consisting of military and aliens working together, strange capabilities, in parentheses, destroying electronics near them, constant harassment, inability to be normal or make friends or have relationships. Those suffering with MPD/DID have on average in excess of 8 split personalities. However, in the case of MK Ultra, there can be as many as 30,000 alters. What? Which each alter created at the moment the trauma occurred. Oh. The primary personality is the one that is out most of the time. Usually they are moody and depressed. Switching occurs when other alters come out. This can be triggered through external stimuli, such as anxiety, a password, or when certain memories are brought forth. The person will usually suffer from a headache or flicker of the eye. Some personalities include protectors, who make sure no one else gets out of line, and observers, who usually sit back and rarely come out. Each personality is formed based on the need at the time it was created. For instance, being bullied on school grounds would create a tough guy personality. Being sexually abused would create a personality who is sexually addicted. To make things even more complicated, in the case of satanic rituals, sometimes demons can attach to a personality. These demons are used to make the programming more permanent. And if this is the case, then these people can be suffering from both demon possession and MPD/DID at the same time. Good God. MPD/DID victims are most often found in families with multi-generational satanic abuse, sexual abuse, prolonged child abuse, or trauma-based mind control. Monarch programming. So why would anyone want to do so many horrific things? Of course, it comes down to control. They would need The element of surprise and a sneak attack of an army of loyal and disobedient sleepers in every corner of the planet, which could be activated and unleashed for chaos, death, and anarchy in a massive black awakening. These chosen ones, as they like to call themselves, are known as the Order, or more specifically, the Satanic Order. Once they are activated from their sleeper status, they will be released to carry out their programmed and pre-chosen tasks, causing the collapse of the governments of the world and paving the way for the New World Order and the rise of the Antichrist. This will only occur when they feel they are adequately positioned in such a way that they could never be opposed. The problem is many of them within their ranks are fighting over who gets to be the top dog, as they lack any honor even amongst themselves. And of course, the internet is waking people up. It is estimated that there are 4 million diagnosed cases of MPD/SRA worldwide and millions more diagnosed. This would require a massive undertaking from a global underground network. To coerce their cooperation, it would require total control over their minds, desires, and free will. This creation of a total mind control slave has been going on for many generations within elite bloodline families. Once the OSS, CIA, and Monarch Solutions joint ventured in Project Monarch, mind control became a serious field of research. The name was based on the idea that monarch caterpillars have migrated to every continent of the earth. This symbolizes the spread of monarch victims worldwide. The caterpillar would then grow a chrysalis. This symbolizes how trauma-based mind control reprograms the thoughts and desires of a victim into a new person. And finally, the caterpillar flies away. This is the feeling you get when you're nervous or right before you're about to be tortured into a split brain, DID/MPD alters. Very few people have spoken up about this topic without facing extreme opposition. They are ridiculed, imprisoned, such as, and this is in parentheses, such as Fritz Springmeier, Springmeier, bribed into silence, threatened with financial repercussions, brainwashed themselves, or if that fails, killed. A few brave souls managed to give us some information as to what kind of torture takes place in one of these monarch training sessions. The following is a summary of a lecture given by Dr. D. Corydon, Corydon, Hammond, in a speech titled Hypnosis is MPD Ritual Abuse. He speaks of ways to recognize and treat symptoms of government mind control. Shortly after the lecture, Dr. Corydon Hammond received death threats and discontinued any future public appearances. The act of creating a monarch is based on the dissociation of the mind using torture and abuse. For most victims, the programming begins before the age of 2.5, as ego states have yet to develop. This gives the handlers a blank slate, so to speak. Sometimes trauma, such as electroshock, is applied when the fetus is still in the womb. Oh my God. This makes the mind easier to program at a later stage. Sodomy around this age almost always results in DID. When a man sodomizes a child at the age of 3 or 4, the nerves at the base of the spine are attacked, causing the brain to make a bond to that man as if he were their father. What? This is why children are abused so much in the Catholic Church. Oh my God. Children are usually selected from high-ranking Illuminati families, military intelligence, psychic bloodlines, satanic abuse, or those involved with pedophilia. Those with psychic bloodlines are located using school testing, which is all tied into national databanks. An EEG electroencephalogram is strapped to their heads to measure brainwave activity. This helps to map out thinking processes and to determine an individual's usefulness. They can use this data to determine a possible life path, such as doctor, lawyer, actor, politician, spy, or any position the Illuminati want to infiltrate. The next step is to use trauma to split the mind into alters, because many of those who undergo this type of procedure end up dead. Monarch programming usually takes place in close proximity to near trauma death centers, in military bases, or in hospitals. Goal is to cause the subject to leave the body so they can be revived again with a new split altar. Okay, well, we're going to wrap it there. Done the Gohan Kagei, we gonna get your Nosuke till we meet again. Love you, mean it. This is crazy.